I just wanted to talk about some of the things that I've had recently come up as breakthroughs for me. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bello, and in this video, I'm going to be sharing some nuggets I've learned from this book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Now, I have read Becoming Supernatural from Dr. Joe Dispenza before, and I love all this stuff. I know sometimes it sounds woo-woo and impossible and like manifestation and visualization. It sounds kind of weird, right? But it's really cool to just dive into the quantum physics and the studies of how, two different groups, one group might have to play the piano, and then the other group might imagine practicing the piano. And at the end of it, both groups had very similar amounts of progress, even though one group did not ever even physically play the piano. Like, that's pretty cool. And there are studies in the book to show and back that up. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about some of the things that I've had recently come up as breakthroughs for me from reading this book. So again, the book is called Break the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I'll link that up in the show notes and in the video if you're interested in checking it out. But I think of the quote of Albert Einstein that says, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that we used when we created them." You may have heard this before, like if we are in a certain state of thinking and we've got problems, we're not going to be able to solve that unless we maybe step back, look at it from another perspective, get someone else's opinion. And sometimes, like you may have heard, if you're writing a paper for school, it helps to sleep on it. Or if you're writing an email, if you're angry and you're writing an email to somebody, don't just fire that off, because chances are it's not going to be in the best tone. It may not be in the best light. So sleep on it. And then with your renewed mind, you can review it and see if anything needs to be changed before you submit that paper, send that email, etc. Right? So similarly, like I said, this quote, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." You've got to change your thinking in order to do things differently. And so sometimes it just takes seeing things from a different perspective, or maybe even getting feedback from others. And this is why it's so important and valuable to have friends whose opinions you can rely on and trust. Maybe mentors that you refer to, that you ask questions to. Personally, I have a life coach, and we meet every 2 weeks, and I can ask questions about how I'm feeling, what I want to work on, what I think I want to do. And she can challenge me and kind of play devil's advocate and say, "Well, last call you said this, and now you're saying this. What do you really want to do?" Right? So this book is extremely game changer for me. And Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about a thinking and feeling loop. And again, I'm just covering a little bit from a chapter that I read, but I really recommend checking out this full book if you're into this kind of stuff. And if you want to change your life, you got to change the way you think. But this is what the thinking and feeling loop looks like. First, begin to feel the way we think, and then to think the way we feel. Let me say that again. We first begin to feel the way we think, and then to think the way we feel. So feelings lead to thoughts, thoughts lead to feelings. That's the loop that he's talking about. So it's very interesting, but he goes on to say that whenever feelings become the means of thinking, or if we cannot think greater than how we feel, we can never change. So the summary to this, the main point of what he's trying to say, is that in order to change, we have to think greater than how we feel. So think of times where you've felt scarcity mindset, you've been afraid, you've been nervous or worried, you don't want to look stupid, you don't want to launch a podcast and it sucks. There's all these different fears that we all deal with when we want to do something that maybe is not our current reality. And we get stuck in a story that we tell ourselves. This is something else that he talks about in terms of repeating patterns. You wake up, you kind of go through the same motions, your day looks the same. And so now you're reminding your brain of the programming that you already have in your current life, reminding yourself of your reality. So you wake up, you check your email, you're stressed out because your boss wants something from you. You grab a cup of coffee, you run out the door, you realize you forgot to brush your teeth. Like, if that's what your morning looks like, you are living in reactive mode instead of proactive mode. And that pushes your beliefs to say, like, this is my life. I'm busy. I have no time, right? My boss is an asshole. Like, all these things that happen start to be programmed in your mind. And so again, to change is to think greater than how we feel. Remember that. And so we really have to change the way that we think in order to change who we are. If you've ever heard that one quote, "Thoughts become things," that's kind of what we're talking about along these lines. And so the next point here that I noted down that I wanted to talk through is that in a way, we have to deprogram or unwire our old thinking and feeling patterns, and then reprogram or rewire our brains with new patterns of thinking and feeling based on who we want to be instead. I know that's a mouthful, but basically we have all these programs subconsciously, and we believe certain things to be true about ourselves, about our lives, about what we're capable of, about our potential. And oftentimes that's the story we tell ourselves. Well, all my friends make this much money, and so I make this much money. I'm happy. I'm hanging out. I'm keeping up with the Joneses type thing, right? You got 5 friends who make 40 or 50K a year. You're making 50K a year. You're happy. If you start to level up your friends and all your friends are making $500,000 a year, $200,000 a year, it's going to raise your thermostat, and you're going to start to realize like, man, there's so much potential. I'm only here at the 50. There's people at the 100 and 200,000 a year mark. How do I get there? Let me ask questions. Let me bridge the gap, right? So you believe to think that these things are possible, which leads you to take actions based on that belief that they're possible. And that is what actually gets you there. And so really got to check out this book. I mean, I'm not even halfway through, to be completely honest. And I've already gotten so many breakthroughs. But looking off the back here on the book, it says you're not doomed by your genes and hardwired to be a certain way for the rest of your life. A new science is emerging that empowers all human beings to create the reality they choose. So one more tip that I wanted to share that I thought was really cool. And if you follow me on Instagram or social media, you'll see that as I read in the morning, I'll sometimes take screenshots of what I'm reading, and I will highlight what I find to be super important or things that stick out. But instead of living in scarcity and reliving the past memories of pain and trauma and sadness and failure, he challenges you to instead envision and live through and feel the emotions of gratitude for achieving what it is that you want to achieve. So imagine whatever it is that you want, imagine achieving all of those things. How's it going to feel? And live the experience in your mind. And when you do that, that's when things start to manifest for you. The dots start to connect, right? Opportunities come out of nowhere. You get an email or a call from someone saying, hey, I got a client who wants to work with you. I made the introduction. They want to start working with you ASAP. Those types of things start to happen, but you can't be looking for it all the time. You've got to be open to the infinite possibilities, speak what you want out into existence and into the universe. And then all this mysterious quantum physics stuff, stars start to align, the path begins to appear, really cool things start to happen. So anyway, once again, go check out that book if you have not already. Again, I'm going to put that link in the show notes for you so you can get it on Amazon or wherever you get books at. And if you have any questions, shoot me a DM. My Instagram handle where I'm most active, again, is chrisbello_. Please be sure to leave a review if you're on Apple Podcasts. If you are on YouTube, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share it with a friend if you got value. And once again, thank you so much for listening. I'll catch you on the next video or the next episode of the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast.